Welcome back to Edge Pulse Trade. Today we're diving into one of the most significant economic discussions from Davos 2026, where top financial minds gathered to debate a critical question. Are we repeating the mistakes of the 1920s? Joining this extraordinary panel were Christine Lagarde, President of the European Central Bank, Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock overseeing $14 trillion, Ken Griffin, founder of Citadel with $65 billion in investment capital, and historian Adam Tooze from Columbia University. The stakes couldn't be higher. With $38 trillion in U.S. debt, an AI boom requiring hundreds of billions in investment, and geopolitical fragmentation accelerating, these leaders tackled the uncomfortable parallels between our current moment and the decade that preceded the Great Depression. Adam Tooze opened the discussion by drawing a sobering historical comparison. The 1920s witnessed groundbreaking technological advances in electrical grids, combustion engines, and assembly lines, much like our AI revolution today. But there's a darker parallel. The 1920s represented what contemporaries believed was the first moment of liberal unipolarity, a world order anchored by dollar hegemony after World War I. That system, built on technology and finance without deep political foundations, ultimately collapsed. Tooze's warning was clear. We thought that a good substitute would be technology and finance, and for a while in the 1920s that formula looked like it would work. The hubris and the failure of imagination and the failure of politics never provided the underpinnings for that structure. Christine Lagarde highlighted a critical difference that makes today's situation potentially more dangerous. The technological breakthroughs of the 1920s could diffuse within national boundaries. You didn't need massive scale or network effects. But artificial intelligence is fundamentally different. Developing a frontier AI model today requires approximately $1 billion. These companies need access to vast datasets, massive scale to amortize investment costs, and crucially, international cooperation. Lagarde pointed to the contradiction at the heart of the AI boom. The development of AI and the gain of productivity that we hope for is difficult to reconcile with fragmentation in terms of standards, licensing, and access. She emphasized that geopolitical fragmentation is increasing, with import and export restrictions rising across almost all product categories to unprecedented levels. Global trade hasn't collapsed yet, but the warning signs are flashing. Larry Fink reframed Lagarde's concern through a competitive lens. For him, the fragmentation issue isn't just about efficiency. It's existential for Western economies. If we don't cooperate, we don't scale. China wins, Fink stated bluntly. China has the population advantage and fundamentally different privacy laws, allowing them to accumulate data at a scale Western democracies struggle to match. Fink doesn't believe we're in an AI bubble, though he expects some big failures. His concern is different: whether Western economies can spend enough to compete effectively, and whether capital markets can continue funding these massive investments. Ken Griffin brought the discussion to what he sees as the real crisis. Not private sector exuberance, but government fiscal irresponsibility. The area of recklessness is the spending of governments around the world, who are all, with little exception, spending well beyond their means. This is not a parallel to the 1920s in terms of the recklessness of private capital markets. It's a story of the recklessness of government spending. Griffin highlighted the paradox. The world needs AI to be a productivity savior that can help economies grow fast enough to overcome their deficits. But we simply don't know yet if AI will deliver those gains. He noted that U.S. companies will spend approximately $600 billion this year on data center capex alone. The question becomes, what's the lifetime of these investments? If chip technology changes rapidly, making current infrastructure obsolete in 1 year instead of 4 or 5, these investments could prove disastrous. The conversation turned to the $38 trillion elephant in the room: U.S. sovereign debt. Unlike the 1920s when the United States ran budget surpluses, today's economy operates with massive deficits. The playbook learned from 1929 and applied in 2008 and 2020 is simple. When crisis hits, throw money at the problem. But as the moderator asked, is there an invisible line in the bond market that could turn into a red line where investors say, we're not doing it anymore? Lagarde's response was nuanced but revealing. Not all debt is the same. Debt that is invested in necessary productive projects or necessary for security purposes will always find people to finance it, she argued. But unproductive debt that doesn't sustain growth on a sustainable basis will face far more difficulty. Then she made a statement that sent ripples through the audience. When asked if central banks will always be around to backstop the system, she carefully replied, I'm not going to tell you that central banks will always be around either. The discussion concluded with Lagarde defending central bank independence, drawing on historical lessons. She distinguished between working hand-in-hand with fiscal authorities during exceptional circumstances like COVID and fiscal dependency. The former can be legitimate. The latter is dangerous. Lagarde invoked Paul Volcker as her hero for breaking the back of central bank dependency in the 1980s, even at the cost of jeopardizing the economy to restore price stability. That independence, she suggested, must be fiercely protected. So where does this leave us? We stand at a crossroads with eerie similarities to the 1920s. Transformative technology, massive capital investments, rising debt, and increasing geopolitical fragmentation. But we also have something the 1920s didn't have: the lessons of history. The question is whether we'll apply them. Can Western democracies cooperate enough to compete in AI while respecting different values around privacy and data? Can governments regain fiscal responsibility before bond markets force austerity upon them? Can we ensure AI delivers real productivity gains rather than just hype? The answers will shape not just markets, but the future of the global economic order. As Tooze reminded us, the 1920s ended in catastrophe, not because technology failed, but because politics did. This time, we have a choice.